Hey everyone, welcome to episode 7 of Building My Trike. Today in the mail I got some tubies. So now I can finally put a tubie in my wheelie over here. That's for 20 inch at the back. This week I'm going away on the weekend to have some time in the farms. So I won't be doing too much work, but what I want to do before I go is lay some carbon on this. So when I get back next week, or as soon as I can start sizing up how I'm going to mount the steerer thingy majiggies. So I'm going to cut some carbon and mark out on that fiberglass panel that I've been using where how much carbon I want and type of weave pattern and everything that I want. And that bit that I've already got tacky tape on, I'll just continue the tacky tape along, and this will fit perfectly inside that. So I can do that, then I can glue these in place and then start measuring up how I'm going to well, I've got to design first an axle mount to weld onto this, and then figure out how I'm going to run the steering mechanism and everything. So the other day I did the carbon wrap on the cranks. So the cranks are ready to go, but because that intersects with this piece in the bike like a T, you can't mount the cranks until this is sort of in place and glued. And I kind of don't want to do that until I know where all the mechanisms for the steerers are going to go. So I'll focus my attention on this part for this week and leave the cranks for a little bit now. So I'm going to have to start thinking how I'm going to mount the brake as well on the front. So I'll be doing that design process in about 10 minutes. I also had a clean up, so it's not an absolute pigsty anymore. I've actually got room to work out now. Just got my trigger shifter and a rail in the mail. It's a SRAM GX 10-speed shifter for my 10-speed cassette, and I've got a 10-speed trigger shifter. Clicky click 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 like that. So the biggest this one can take is a 36 tooth, which is 36 tooth on there, so that's pretty good. That gives me a good selection in gear ratios. So I made this bracket, well, I will be welding it to make a bracket to hold the bearings that will be welded to the axle for each wheel at the front. So I've cut it to 67 degrees. So these are at 120 because the angle of the center of the bearing needs to impact the center of the wheel contact patch on the road for stability and whatnot. So that 67 degrees translates to 7 degrees above horizontal, which is the camber that I'm giving the bike here. So what I'll do is I'll weld this together, and then I can take the bearing assembly and I can slide it in the middle on one corner, so I can like chock something in here to wedge it in there. Then once I machine up the axle, I can lay the axle flush with that and then bring that tight along there, and then I can weld in here just a few tacks, and then I can take a carbon bearing, carbon race bit off, and then put it in nice and solid and then finish up the welds. But yeah, this will give me the perfect angle, so I know the camber and the alignment's going to be perfect for either side. And once I've done that, I can then fix this into this side at the exact same positioning, so I can make like a little chock for here, so, and then lay it upside down and glue it in like that, so I know they're both exactly the same height. Once I got that, then I can stick it in the bike. So I'll do all this, and the welding, I'll do that first before I focus on gluing this into there, because if I do that, then I'm stuck. I kind of don't know what I'm doing. I could do it. I could just take this bolt out and stick the bolt in, but it will make it a lot easier with that. Now it is time to design the axle. So I will be measuring the diameter of this and then placing it inside the wheel, making sure I've got the right length and everything, and doing all my measurements on that. And yeah, I'll design that on CAD and then maybe 3D print one. I don't know how that's going to go because it doesn't really print circles very well, especially in 12mm diameter. But yeah, I might make a mock-up one just to see what it looks like first in place, and then figure out where I'm going to go from there. Just finished designing the axle. I've got a step for here to go from the bearing up to this first lip. The second lip is this step here, and then that third lip is the space from this flat to the flat of this, plus 3mm, because I'll be welding a 3mm plate onto that axle, which will come out here and bolt through to this to stop the brake twisting back and forth. And then I've got 60mm to play with here. Inside I've got 12mm shoulder for a shoulder bolt that I'm getting, and then a 10.2mm hole for the 10mm thread. Sorry, 8.2mm, 8.5mm hole, I think, for the 10mm thread of the shoulder bolt. So from there to there, I've got 36mm of bolt going into the axle before it starts to thread, and I'll have about 12mm it was, about 12mm thread inside the axle where it is threaded, the bolt threads into. I haven't yet decided on a external diameter. I've just got it roughed out to 30mm now, so I've got to go see what round bar I can get in mild steel, what sizes they sell, and just adjust that accordingly. Well, I am back from my weekend away. While I was away, I got my shoulder bolts for the front axles. So it sticks out that far from the end of the brake mount, and I've also made these little bits, these attachments that will be welded onto the axle mount and bolt through just here. So that'll stop the front brake from rotating when I put the brakes on. You can see there's not much meat between the shoulder bolt and what will be the inside of the axle mount. So that's why I've got so much meat on the shoulder bolt sticking through. So by the time it comes through and steps up and then steps up again, there will be more meat for where the threaded section attaches into. So next week I'll be hopefully cutting and turning up those attachment points. I've got the bracket here that I've marked out ready for jig for welding the axle mounts on. So I'll take that over to my dad's and weld it up, clean it up and make it all square and nice, and then I can start machining the mounts for it. So that's it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next week.